Nina kuphe emakhaya amadolobheni aseComplaster khona sasingenile ke thina Mavulandlela sikulethela ke ihlelo lakho Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right silethela ke lapha kumahamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Bekunene, we know that so many homeowners left in a dire situation by the recent floods that devastated parts of KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape are now pinning their hopes on insurance covers they took on their homes. But insurance experts warn that some could be in for a surprise as they could have been underinsured their homes. Let's now welcome our guest, Sina Lizo Mnguni, lobuya Old Mutual Insure, sibe na Peter Nkuna lokhulumela ke lihhovisi le short-term insurance ombudsman. Gentlemen, very good afternoon to you. Sanibonga ehleleni.
Sanibonani.
Siyabonga kakhulu ke nawe Mnguni sawumule ehleleni.
Sawubona Simphiwe phinde ngibingelele umbukeli lapha ekhaya.
Yes. Okay, singakaqali ke endzabeni yethu, singangena endzabeni yethu. Asesibuke ukuthi ke yini ke i-household insurance noma ke i-homeowners insurance?
Yeah, we homeowners insurance eyemuntu onendlu onayo leyo ndlu, and it's for ikunikeza i-cover for iphutha that can happen or hlambe any damage to indlu yakho that might happen due to natural disasters njengoba sibonile inhlekelele lomvelo esandukwenzeka lapha kwaZulu. Izinto ezinjalo ikunikeza i-cover for izinto ezinjalo.
Kunemehluko ke emkhathini kwe-homeowner insurance ne-household insurance. Yini ke lo mehluko?
Yeah, umehluko lapho i-homeowners izokuvikela for any damage kwindlu that happens for i-structure yendlu.
Yes.
And then i-householders i-protector izinto ezingaphakathi kwendlu.
Oh, okay.
So izinto njenge-TV, izinto ezifana njengama-fridge, izinto ezinjalo, i-furniture nayo ikhona lapho. For i-householders ileyo ke izokunikeza izokuvikela nje for izinto ezingaphakathi kwendlu.
Okay, all right. Baba Nkuna, let me also bring you into this conversation. Siyathi ke ukuthi ke bantu labaningi ikakhulukati ke eKwaZulu-Natal nase Eastern Cape batsinzeke kakhulu ngaleti khukhula bethi khona ke. So it is only now that insurance companies need to show their mettle and be seen to be on the side of their customers and consumers. Kepha ke siyathi ke ukuthi ke some of them will be in for a surprise and a big shock. Ukuthi yini ke sizathu lesitawenda ukuthi most of these insurance companies angabhadali laba claimako?
Njengoba nishilo, one of the reasons is about a consumer might be underinsured, which means that when they put in a claim, instead of ukuthi yonke claim ibhadaliwe, only a portion of it will be paid out by the insurance company. Another possibility could be that the claim may not even be paid out completely based on other terms and conditions. Njengoba mhlawumbe i-construction yendlu was not up to scratch in accordance with the building regulations. There was no proper maintenance of indlu. Things like that can also impact iklem yamuntu.
Lomnye ke angatibuta nguna ukuthi the insurance companies why bengakakuboni lokho when the customer was taking up the insurance kuthi ke there's a structural defects noma ke indlu bengakakhiwa kahle, why bengakakubuki lokho as I was taking up the insurance?
Mina ngizoyibeka kanje bazowazi kanjani. Yes. Because one would assume now as a consumer you didn't know and you are staying in that house throughout, yet you don't know. Manje insurance yako is far from the house. They may have never even seen it. So the only way would be if they come by the inspection, and that would in turn mean ama premiums azokubuka because for the cost ukuthi bayenze ama-inspections, they would have to recoup lower costs, and that would mean ama-premiums azoya higher than they should be. And that is why bangawenzi ama-inspections prior to claims. And then at claim time, they will then do proper investigations to see if there are any faults. And of course, if there are not any faults with the structure and it's a valid claim, bazopatal.
Okay. Now, Lisa, I'm going to pose the same question to you. But it seems like insurance companies like yourselves are acting in bad faith. They don't do the proper inspections before a customer or a client takes up insurance, only for the company not to pay out once they discover such defects.
Yeah, so generally insurers will do inspections or site inspections at new business stage. They will carry out those inspections when there is a need. So if they think that you live in a risky area or your sum insured is very high, your house has a very high value, they will come and inspect the house and see that everything is in order in terms of the amount that you want to be covered for. But there are some cases where your insurer will not go and do an inspection of your house. And in those cases...
Yes. Why are they using that just because of such things as structural defects?
Phela ukhumbule ukuthi insurance is vumelwano. And leso sivumelwano has ama rules and regulations ukuthi abantu mele bawulandele in terms so that insurer yakho can be able to cover you as best as they can. So one of those rules and regulations ukuthi mele udisclose wena ukuthi indlu yakho yakhe kanjani and beyikwakhe with the regulations afanele and so on. So that's one of the things that it's a responsibility ye consumer ne policy holder ukuthi disclose yonke information yaleyo ndlu that needs to be covered.
Cha Lizo, umbuto wami uthi nangabe mina ngithenga a second hand house say na 5 years or 10 years yakhiwa leyo ndlu leyo, mina ke konke lengibuka ngibuka emafastelo ngibuka ne-roofing ngibuka nani yabona the things that let's say emehlweni ethu angeke ngibuke bo foundation ukuthi kume njani. So how would I know ukuthi foundation hasn't been properly constructed?
Yeah, but one of the things that we recommend abantu to do is ukuthi mebethenga indlu, even if it's second hand, ukuthi bazitholele i-independence evaluation yaleyo ndlu or i-independence evaluation yokuthi yakhwe kanjani leyo ndlu, ukuthi babekwazi to know if they're going to occupy a house that's safe and so on. And leyo nto gives you also leverage when you ufuna insurance yokuthi okay
niyabatshela yini ukuthi nasibathatha insurance ukuthi kumele bathole inspection?
Yebo, we encourage it highly ngoba siyazi ukuthi dala there was different building codes that might not have been as rigid as the ones that we have now, and abantu bebezithathela nje ama chance ngokwakhe izindlu at some points. So we highly encourage abantu to do ama inspection before they move into a house, and it helps you as a buyer now mawuthenga indlu ukwazi ukuthi hayi lobonda sozowa nje within 2 years nawe ukuthi yabona uwazi ukuthi hayi menginegotiate nje mele ngehlisa iprice yami engiyicelayo ngoba nazi amaphutha.
Okay, so ngingakawuthathi kumshwalense kunanaku lethiwa i-replacement value ne-market value. I know that it's the same principle that applies with car insurance as well. Yini kumehluko emkhathini kwe-replacement kanye ke ne-market value ye-insurance?
For izindlu.
For indlu, yes.
For indlu. For indlu mele ukhumbule Butramsphiwe ukuthi insurance yokubeka esimweni semali esifanayo before events happened, before leyo risk or accidents happened. So lapho asifuna i-value yethu esoka insure ngayo, it's based around i-rebuilding cost ukuthi mesokwakhela lendlu after ibhidlekile or ibekwe phansi for whatever reason, mele sibheke iprice ye-itini, iprice yosimende, iprice yabona izinto ezinjalo, ngeke sibheke i-value yomhlaba. And lokhu kuhlukile, i-rebuilding cost ne-value yomhlaba kuhlukile ngoba thina sibheke i-structure yendlu ukuthi kungasibiza malini in terms of rebuilding indlu. Ngeke sibheke ukuthi umhlaba wona underneath indlu i-worth malini.
Okay, all right. Asishiye lapho Mr. Nguna, sitawuphinde sibuye kuwe emva kwaleli khefu. Bekunene asasithi shelele ngasetitolo hlala kanye nathi siyabuya khona nyalo. Sinabukela futhi bekunene tincingo tefiselo so tivuliwe ukuthi ke nawe ungaba ingcenye yale nkulumo yethu namhla ungashela icingo ke ku-0117146918 noma ke 0117146919 ungasithumela futhi ne-email ku-consumer@sabc.co.za ungaphinde uhlanganyele kanye nathi ke ku-Facebook. Namhla sinalizo Mnguni from Old Mutual Insure kanye ke na Peter Nkuna is from the Short Term Insurance Ombudsman. Sikhuluma ke ngabo household insurance nekuthi ke yini lokumele uthi uyende ungakawuthathi ke umshwalense, and this is on the back of the devastation caused by the recent KZN floods. Siyathi ukuthi labanengi naba approach ke noma ke banqonqotha ke eminyango etindlu insurance abakhona ke kusitakala ngenzaba it's a multiplicity of issues such as being underinsured. That's what we'll be discussing today. Now, Peter, before we enter that ad break, besikhuluma ke nalizo lapha about umehluko emkhathini where replacement value kanye ke the market value. Kuthi, have you had any disputes with regards to matters arising from market value ne household insurance or replacement value?
Okay. Yes, since disputes involving lawama values. In fact, I think between, I think there are at least 3 different evaluations one can have. Mm-hmm. The one would be more like your sale price. So uma utengesi indlu, how much it is that in the open market people would want to buy it for. And then you also have a value in terms of your rates and taxes, which is a completely different method of evaluation. And then the third one is like a reinstatement or rebuilding costs that was discussed a little bit earlier on. And it's important to should know that these are all different, meant for different reasons. And for purposes of insurance, Yamuntu, that reinstatement or rebuilding costs will be the important one. And that is the one that Kumela Muntu, I note against the policy. The value of my house is this much, and in case it's completely destroyed, the insurance company will then have to replace it at that value.
So who bears the onus or the responsibility of valuing my house? Is it the owner of the house or is it the insurance company?
It's the owner of the house, and that's why earlier on Ulizo mentioned that there are assessments and independent assessors that one can engage to provide those services. Come have a look from a perspective of structural soundness, if there are any defects, and then maybe you can take corrective steps. And then on the other side as well, in terms of the actual value of the property, in terms of a replacement costs that can also be determined, and then that's what one can use against one's policy to make sure that the cover is adequate.
Now, Peter, this insurance company is disputing the valuation of this property. What then happens? Ngendeka ini lapho ngoba ke nangabe uthi ke lonemandla noma ke umdlandla noma ke ligunya lekuvaluisha lendlu ngimi mina mnikati kwalendlu iqhamuke ke lizo athi no, this house is worth this much, not what you valued.
Okay. Normally, there are very specific ways of conducting evaluations. It's a science, but once again, as I said, from different perspectives, you can get different values. And therefore, in the particular context, if kuna assessors with different reports or different values, what could then be done is, which is what our office would do, is sometimes we'll get the 2 experts to sit around the table and have a discussion to see where are the differences. And a lot of times through that process, reach some kind of agreement to say, no, in fact, a reasonable cost for one brick is this much instead of that one, and then they come closer together. And sometimes the dispute can then be resolved that way. If that fails, There's, of course, something called arbitration, where an independent person can also come in and engage the two parties, and the parties will agree with whatever he says at the end of the day, that will accept. And if they come back saying it's 10,000, then that's what it is. If they say 10 million, that's what it is. And lastly, of course, our courts, if we cannot have it resolved any other way, one can always go to court and the court will decide.
Now, Lizo, kwendiwa yini vele lokuthi-ke kube nekungavumelani emkhathini kwethinkampani insurance kanye-ke nebathengi ngendaba ye-valuation. Does it also feed into this narrative ukuthi insurance companies try as much as possible not to pay out or pay as less as possible?
No, I don't think it comes from that. As Mnumzane had highlighted, I think there are differences in opinion with regard to the value of houses that might vary because of people's experience or the person doing the valuation. Yeah. And that's really where it comes down to. It's not a case of the insurer trying to reduce how much they're liable by and so on. So, and you must remember, these valuations that we're talking about would typically happen ekuqalweni kwesivumelwano. So it's difficult to try to be biased in any way from the insurance point of view at that particular point in time.
Yeah. Sibonile-ke futhi-ke nabomasipala nabo doing their own valuations. Just how accurate are these valuations? Nakuthi-ke, can I use them? Noma-ke ngawasebenzisa leyo ma-valuation yamasipala for insurance purposes. Noma-ke kuthatha-ke umshwalense ngiqhamuke ne-valuation le ndiwe ngibani ngumasipala nginike wena ukuthi cha my house is worth this much.
Yes, irresponsibility is with the consumer. So if bona beza kuthina with that number, singayisebenzisa thina ngoba i-consumer eshoyo ukuthi mina ngifuna ukuba covered for le amount. Yabona. So if bona abayenzi research yabo ba check ukuthi no, actually the valuation masipala is actually slightly lower than the rebuilding cost, then bazoba exposed to low risk. Yeah, under insurance. That's my fellow interviewee highlighted earlier. You could say insured for amounts that's less than what's required to rebuild in, and that's where sometimes people might be disappointed with isicelo sabo come claim stage, and they find that perhaps average was applied and they get a lower payout than they were expected.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, njengoba sibonile tikukhula ke bo Natal nabo Eastern Cape devastated so many homes. Does it mean ukuthi ke i-value ye house or ye building insurance itawunyuka from now on?
What we've seen is ukuthi due to the global supply chain shortages and so on, the price of almost everything has gone up. Nkuluma price weighting, just as I said before, cement, all of that has gone up. So the rebuilding cost, say nyukile, and that has driven to some extent our premiums akhokhwa abantu in terms of the insurance yabo. So as long as we see that current trend continuing, it cost the insurance hlambizonyuka. But as soon as those supply pressures ease and demand pressures now then we'll get some relief in terms of the cost insurance in Africa.
Please hold the thought. We'll continue this discussion in a moment. Let's take our first caller. Sina Pascal Ulapage, Pretoria.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Please talk to us.
I just want to ask, why do this insurance put the burden on the consumer to prove whether the house is defect and stuff? I mean, we have a lot of first-time home buyers who will just automatically take their bond with any insurance company without knowing the repercussions if the house is not properly built and a whole lot of stuff. I mean, why is it only the burden be on the consumer?
Okay, Pascal, thank you so much for that question. It's a big question that is on everybody's lips, by the way. Why does the insurance company place the burden on the consumer's shoulders to prove that there was actually a structural defect on the property?
So come claim stage, insurers will investigate and find and will be able to find if there was any structural defects on the property that was significant in playing a hand in the damage that was caused. Most insurers will actually give benefits of the doubt, even if bethola ukuthi ubonda wasn't built properly or so on, and it led to the eventual collapse of indlu. Then some insurers will say, look, mhlambe beku 50-50 lapha, so we don't know if it was completely due to a manner of construction, and then bathi yazi sizomane siyikhokhe le mali ngoba nathi asikho sure kahle ukuthi can it be 100% attributed to indlela that was used for ukwakha indlu. So there are those instances, but unfortunately you only hear about the bad side of it.
Unfortunately. Hayi Mbukeli, asasishilela ngasetitolo, please do join us after this break. Leli ke Yilungelo Lakho. Welcome back Mbukeli. Khumbula ukuthi tincingo tethu solo tivuliwe ukuthi ke nawe ungavakalisa umbono wakho. Sishayele ke licingo ku 011-714-6918. Let me repeat that. 011-714-6918 noma ke 011-714-6919. The numbers are on your screens right now. You can also email your thoughts about this program to consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungaphinda usifole futhi na ku Facebook. Namhla ke sikhuluma ke nge-household noma ke i-homeowners insurance. Nokuthi yini lekumele ukwende ungakawuthathi ke umshwalense wendlu noma ke khaya lakho. Sikubonile ke abantu abaningi balahlekelwa ngemakhaya ke eNatal nabo Eastern Cape ngenza balethe ukukula bethi khona siyathi ke ukuthi ke most of these insurance companies abafuni ukubhadala as a result of a multiplicity of issues. Now Mnguni sesivile ke ukuthi some of these insurance companies ababhadali ngenzaba yokuthi not because of the storm noma ngabe indlu ikhenyabetekile noma ke ilimele ngenzaba ye-storm noma ke ngama-floods, kepha ke insurance company angeke ikubuke lokho, kepha itawubuka maybe a lack of maintenance of the house as a reason or as a basis for not paying out.
Kunjalo Spiri. That's enye imthetho, or rather one of the rules that are in the policy yakho yokuthi as a homeowners, a homeowner, mele kube uwe that takes care of indlu yakho to make sure that it's not in a state of disrepair. Ngoba insurance ngeke ikhokhele if ithola ukuthi indlu yakho iwe ngoba wena bongayi-maintain kahle, yabona, and lokho kubhaliwe nje kuma weddings nama-policy nazo zonke iy'ncwadi esikuthumela zona ekuqaleni kwaleso sivumelwano semshwalense. So kubalulekile ukuthi umbukeli as soon as bethatha insurance ukuthi bayibheke bafunde ukuthi mele ngenzeni kanjani ukuthi nabo bangakhathazeki bangaphatheki kabi ngesikhathi sokufaka icelo.
Okay. Now Peter, is this a loophole though? Lokuthi nangabe ngithethe umshwalense wendlu isichamuke sikhukhula siyibulale lendlu aqhamuke ke lizo athi no, they're not going to pay because of a lack of maintenance. Nayi phela indlu yami seyikhukhulekile ngikukhulela ngoco sangcotho.
Okay, before Sialap, there's something I wanted to address a little bit earlier on.
Yes.
About my insurance companies giving the burden on, or leaving the burden on our consumers to prove that there is no defect in the structure. And I wanted to just highlight it's not our insurance companies, it's actually our legal system. Our legal system is based on the premise that he who alleges must prove. Manje, if unayo claim, what you need to be doing is to say to the insurance company, if claim yami invalid. And how do you prove that? You'll prove that by saying, I have a contract, I was paying my premiums, one of the insured perils happened, which is a storm or a rain, and then that is what entitles me to claim. And then Uma, your claim is being evaluated, it is found that no, actually, the reason why Yilungelo fell apart was not because of the storm, but because of its existing defect. That is where the problem comes in. No, this is not really a valid claim because in terms of a contract insurance, you will only be indemnified UMA indlu collapses as a result of an insured event like a storm or whatever other natural disaster, but not because the construction of it is not quite up to scratch. So the same thing will also apply even Kuma issues where maintenance. If the cause of the loss or the damage to the house is not the natural disaster itself, then the real cause would be the fact you were not maintaining it and the house became weaker as a result of that, and that is why it collapsed.
How then do the insurance companies arrive at that decision? If you see walls collapsed, if you see the building razed to the ground, so how do they know it was a lack of maintenance?
It's very easy. You've got experts like AMA engineers who can do proper assessments. Let me give you a simple example. AMA roofs. It's very easy to see. I come into your house, I look up and I can see sun rays from the roof. Yeah. That is going to tell me kuko AMA leaks. And that will be one way of explaining why your furniture would have gotten damaged while it was inside Indlu and it was raining. You would expect the roof would protect your household contents, your furniture and all of that. But despite there being a roof on top covering Indlu, somehow the water still got to your leather couch, and that will tell you that there's something wrong with the roof, and that's how easy it can be. Of course, there are instances where it is a little bit difficult, and then you need really properly qualified experts, AMA investigations and AMA reports, and then we
Peter,
can look at those.
I think ukhulumela indlu lesengakawi. Mina ngikhulumela ke because I was in KZN, as part of the mop-up operations last week, and ngabona ke ukuthi tindlu, they were totally destroyed. And I'm talking about when total destroyed, I'm not talking about partially destroyed. Indlu, all you could see was debris. Kutsi lapha there used to be a house. All you see is pieces of of bricks here and there, and the remains of some of the corrugated iron sheets lying around. So ngibona kanjani ke lapho ukuthi no lapha it was a lack of maintenance.
Good question. That one will definitely be the more difficult ones. That's why ngeti kuzomela kubekho ama engineers and whatnot, and sometimes it may not be possible, and therefore, particularly considering scale, this natural disaster in question, it's going to be very difficult to make that argument. But at the same time, let me give you another example. There could be an area which is known to have some problems, and maybe Neholumente issued an instruction, guys, this is not suitable place. This is not a suitable place, Ukaka Indlu, and then I go there and still do that. That could be evidence that is relied on to say no, but you are not supposed to have built there in the first place because that area was not suitable. It was already susceptible to this kind of occurrence, and because now AMA storms as Hile, of course, that's exactly what we would have expected. That was the reason why Yilungelo said you mustn't go and build there, because it was foreseeable something like this can happen should there be AMA storms of that magnitude. And that is one of the ways then as AMA consumers, we can still find ourselves falling foul of the AMA policies.
Okay. Lizo, I also need your perspective on this matter, but let's take our next call. Let's number final up again. Sawubona.
Sawubona njani?
Siphilile kunjani baba? Siyaphila baba, khuluma nasi baba.
Yeah, simpilo ngine property that is being undervalued by the municipality. Now, how do I go about ukuthi ngikwazi ukuthola
Manje ungakaqhubeki bafana nawuthi it's been undervalued by the municipality. Have you had or have you done your own valuation?
I've done my own valuation,
Okay.
and it seems as if property is more than what they gave me.
Okay.
So I'm asking to those people, ngingasizakala kanjani? Must I call this municipality or ngihambe ngiyobakhombisa ukuthi indlu yami it values this so much? Bangayishintsha lokuzamileyo.
So umbuto wakho ukuthi ungena njani ukuze ukuthi masipala overvaluation noma ke avaluation indlu yakho ngalendlela lengiyo noma ngoba khumbula ukuthi namhla ke sikhuluma nge-household ne-homeowners insurance baba.
Angithi lenzela for insurance purposes nami.
Okay.
I'm doing it for insurance purposes because according to them bazi ukuthi bona bayivaluation ngevalue yamasipala.
Okay.
Umasipala ngithi nginika i-low amount. Whereas mangiya kwi-private estate, i-estate agent ithi the value is too low. Kodwa bayivaluation high. So how do I go about?
Okay, bafana sabokhulu ukusishayela tini intetho ke khona lapha e-studio ke titawuchazela noma tidzingisele inkinga yakho. Thank you so much for calling. Bukela sesiphinde sisishelele ngasetitolo. We'll be right back. Leli Yilungelo Lakho. Welcome back. Siphinde sinamukela futhi ke bekunene ehleleni Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right. Namhlanje sinalizo Mnguni from Old Mutual Insure kanye ke na Peter Nkuna from the office of the Ombudsman Office for Short-Term Insurance. Sikhuluma ke ngekuba ngetindlu ke leti under insured. Nekuthi kusho ukuthini kuba under insured? Nekuthi ke yini ke lokungadivikela ngako ukuze kuthi ke umsurance ingapha ne-insurance ingabhadali for indlu ikakhulukazi kulabo ke labakingabeteke kuleti khukhula betikhona eNatal kanye nase Eastern Cape. And we do take our calls. You can call us on 0117146918 or 0117146919. You can also share your stories about some of the disputes that have arisen between you and your insurer as a result of the insurance company not wanting to pay out as a result of so many issues. Now, before that break, Lizo, we had a caller, Bafana ukhala ngekuthi masipala wakhe has undervalued indlu yakhe, yet he sought an independent valuation. And now because produce that valuation to insurance companies, which one should he produce? The one Yamaspala Numageleake, he's independent.
I would recommend that he produces the independent one. We have noticed that Umaspalo government doesn't regularly update the value of houses to reflect the proper value from Umaspal. So we would recommend that people do independent valuations like the caller has done and present that to the insurer, but also take into account, Yoguti, that independent valuation will include the value of the land, which is generally not what is covered by insurance. Insurers will cover the rebuilding costs of rebuilding indlu, umhlaba. So he must exclude the value of the land from the assessment that he got, but his insurer will be able to advise him should he produce the
So Emma premiums are based on which valuation, the lower or the higher one?
Azoba based on the one that's given by consumer. So if he gives the one epuma gumaspal, then the premiums will be lower, and if he produces the more accurate one from independent assessment INZ Lubafan, then sizosebenzisa leyo amounts and izoba more accurate for ama premiums akokwa ubafana.
So in short, Emma consumers have got more power in terms of determining the lama premiums.
Akukho lula ngeke ngisho kodwa uyabona kuba nzima ngoba you give an initial amount and then we charge a premium based on that amount.
Yeah.
And then mesithola mhlambe mawufaka isicelo later, mawufaka claim later at a later stage that the amount you had initially gave us was too low, then ungaba underinsured kanjalo. So kubalekile impela ukuthi umbukeli and ama policy holder do their independent assessments to make sure that the value that they give us as ama insurance company are accurate.
And as I was doing my research, some insurance companies exclude flood cover. especially for houses or properties which are in areas that are prone to floods? Why?
Yes, so that's purely, I think, a situation where we've assessed that there's too much risk in that area. Thola ukuthi ukhukhula happens once every 2 years kuleyo ndawo, and it's a frequent thing, and government now ubatshelile abantu mhlambe ukuthi bangakhi lapho, but abantu decided to go and stay there and so on. So it's in those situations where you find some insurers actually withdraw cover completely, like withdraw a flood cover
So
from a certain area.
if ngasabasidi nini?
Yeah, kuba nzima lapho ngoba that's where people might have to self-insure. And by self-insure, I mean they might have to, if an insurance event happens, for example, a flood comes and there's damage to their house or their property, then they might have to actually draw on their own savings to pay for the damage that has happened, because that cover
savings
is not-
latawubuyaphi njengoba usibona simo semnotho. And ngifuna ukubuta ukuthi nangabe the frequency of the floods yendeka after people have built their homes, what should happen? Should they move or relocate?
Yeah, so that's a very good question in terms of global warming esiyibona namhlanje.
Yes.
Ukuthi mawakhe indlu, it could be fine, and then 10 years down the line, situation has changed. It is now, a flood-prone area.
Yes.
So it's one of the risks that are there namhlanje, and I think in those cases, abantu can either realize ukuthi khona leyo risk and start saving more in terms of trying to self-insure if there's no insurance appetite for that specific risk, or seek other ways of trying to cover off that risk.
All right, let's take our next caller. Maruping ulapha ngePitoli sekumule ehleleni sabona. Maruping, welcome.
Good evening, how are you?
Very well, how are you, ma'am? Please talk to us. What's on your mind?
Okay, you're speaking to Marokene around Gauteng province in Pretoria.
Okay, thank you so much for calling. What's on your mind, ma'am?
The reason for my calling today is about the area that was declared by the government to say that is not suitable for the people to build there.
Come again, ma'am.
My concern is I heard you talk about if the area was declared that is not suitable for the houses to be built there.
Yes.
The consumer continue to build, and then after the building, I know that most of the people what they do, they go to get the insurance to insure their houses of their properties. So my worry is that the insurance continue to give the consumer the insurance of that property on the area that they said it was declared not to be suitable to be built.
Okay. Marupene, thank you so much for your
so
call.
So my worry is that when it's supposed to be, the consumer is supposed to be claimed and paid.
I think you got the gist of your question, Marupene. Thank you so much for your call.
You got my
Marupene lapha
question.
ukhala ngekuthi-ke nangabe indzawo has been declared ukuthi well it's uninhabitable, unfit for human habitation. But abantu bachubeka-ke ngetizathu thina bachubeka bakha bahlala khona ukuthi-ke insurance would it pay out?
In those cases, so we would pay out for certain perils, so certain insured events. So not necessarily for, let's say, ukhukhula, which has maybe been excluded from the cover, but it's been declared to be unsafe in terms of certain things. But
then why do insurance companies continue collecting premiums, knowing very well that this place is not fit for human habitation?
So insurance in Melukumbule covers many things. It's not just flood damage, it's theft, it's fire, it's earthquake. There's many different aspects that insurance will cover. So when a motor insurance, thina sitshela ukuthi wena ufuna kuba covered for zonke lezo zinto ukuthi mhlambe if abantu bagqekezile ekhaya ubekwazi ukuvikelwa insurance, or if there's a fire in the area, you being able to claim from insurance in that case. So there's a range of different claim causes that there might be, and when we take out insurance, we might say that we're excluding flood, because you're in a very risky area and you've been advised by government not to build in that area because of the flood risk. But in terms of the other things that insurance can cover you from, for example, theft of your property, if umuntu gets into your house, breaks into your house, we can still cover that risk, even if uhlale endaweni engekho safe.
Okay. Now, Peter, is it time for the Ombudsman to regulate such practices? Some of the insurance companies, and I would say unscrupulous insurance companies, continued deducting and taking premiums from clients and consumers, knowing very well ukuthi le ndzawo la bakhona khona ayikalungi ukuthi kuhlale bantfu, kepha-ke baqhubeka bawathatha lama premiums.
I think maybe we need to take a step backward a little bit. There's an assumption in the question that the insurance company will know what the municipality has said or not said about the property or the area in question, which is a fallacy. I mean, how many municipalities do we have in South Africa? What rules and regulations govern those areas? And then how is it that the insurance company would necessarily get to know about the specific issues? Like Lizo mentioned, you've got a policy which provides cover for hail, storm, rain, this, that, and the other. For you to be able to say, in terms of storm, these are the rules and regulations by the municipality. And then in terms of storm, hail, this, it's going to be an impossible thing for the insurance company to know all those things. And the insurance company says to you upfront, these are the things that we will cover. And if these other things happen, we will not provide cover. So if you read your policy, you ought to know even in advance, if my house is built improperly, I'm not going to enjoy cover. If there's a storm, I'm going to enjoy cover. And from that perspective, I think one can say it's a fair proposition that you're faced with. On the other hand, if I myself, as Mnikazi Wendlu, do not know on the ground where my house is built, there's a problem, but somehow I expect the insurance company to know that, I'm wondering how fair we would be in expecting that. I need to know my own property, and I need to, from the policy documents, know these are the perils that are covered in terms of my policy, and these are those that are not covered. And our premiums will, of course, be matched to that risk. How often is it likely that this peril, let's say, Ikukula, would happen in this area?
Okay, please hold a thought, Peter. We'll continue this discussion after the break. We need to take the final break, and we'll be right back. Yilungelo Lakho. Sawumela futhi bekunene ke saqhubeka futhi nesahluko sethu sekugcina ke ngendaba yethu namhla about homeowners insurance. Now, before we wrap the show, gentlemen, Babinkuna, I just want you, to advise consumers and customers alike, what are some of the common mistakes that they should avoid before taking up home insurance?
Short and sweet, the biggest one is read your policy terms and conditions and have a clear understanding ukuthi le contract yami ne insurance company, what are those terms and conditions, what is it that I need to do to make sure ukuthi ngizo enjoy ama benefits provided by the policy. And once you do that and you comply with that, you're halfway through all the problems that you'll ever have.
Okay. Thank you so much for that point. Lizo Mvile Utsi, we should learn to read the terms and conditions. How do we do that? Nangabe ema insurance policies watasa over the phone?
Yeah, but usually une option yokuthumela i-insurance policy via email or okuhlula lokho sikuthumela incwadi ngepost.
Okay.
Ukuthi uthole ama documents wakho ukhona ukuwafunda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the pointers that you would advise my consumers before taking up insurance? What is it that they look out for?
Exactly the same as Umnumzane Nkuna has already said. Read your policy wording. Yes. You're halfway through the battle there. And then the second one is definitely just to know that there is usizo, as maybe sometimes hopeless as the situation may seem sometimes. Ubaba Nkuna ukhulumela i-short-term insurance ombudsman. And ileyo institution esishaya isandla nathi sometimes. Yokuthi hayi la uyabona kule qala lizo nenza iphutha lana, please pay, and then siyakhokha. So a consumer has the power in terms of the Consumer Protection Act and the short-term insurance ombudsman.
We are out of time, unfortunately, but do you think consumers are happy with insurance companies right now?
I think the ones that have abided by their policies are definitely happy, especially in KZN.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Hayi ke bekunene sesifika kanjalo ke maphethelweni ehlelo lethu namhla ngibonge ivakashi lethu ngesikhathi lebesinato ngithaza ukubuka kanye nani ngebabukeli ngekuba nathi kuze kube ngimanje sihlangane futhi ke ngesikhathi lesitako lapho ke sitanethela ke lelinye indzaba lelithinza wena nemalungelo akho njengemthengi. For me Simphiwe Ngcongwane and the rest of the team sizinisale kahle. Do have a great week ahead. Cheers.
Mnganwa